Hey, what is going on, Guardians? Gray here with another Destiny 2 video. In this video, I want to talk about a build that I put together that sort of utilizes a lot of the really cool new things that we've gotten in Season of Arrivals and kicks ass while it does it. It's a pretty complicated build. It has a lot of moving pieces. So I'm going to do my best to try and explain it to you. I'm going to try and show some gameplay footage in the background and try and line it up with what I'm talking about, but I can't make any promises on that. But I am going to go in depth with all of the mods that I'm choosing, the weapons I'm choosing, and the roles that on those weapons that you're going to need to pull this off. So if you enjoy the video, please leave a like below and be sure to hit that subscribe button, because I'm going to be using this build probably all season, because it's not only is it extremely lethal, but it's a ton of fun and you can just wreak havoc with it, and has something in its toolkit for almost every situation. So with that being said, welcome to another episode of Gray's Builds, where we take a simple concept and overcomplicate the out of it. And that's exactly what we're doing with this build today. So at the beginning of Season of Arrivals, the Trinity Ghoul exotic bow received a catalyst. And this catalyst completely transforms how useful this bow is for just relative ad clear, ease of use. It can clear ads really easily. But what it does is really, really powerful. And it makes it so traditionally with the bow, when you get a precision kill, it's going to grant your next shot chain lightning capabilities. So if you get a precision kill, your next one, it shoots 3 arrows if you didn't know. And your next shot will chain lightning between all 3 of those arrows. So it's very unique in that regard, but up until now, it never really did enough damage to make it viable for any sort of in-game content that wasn't, so particular where you could really take advantage of it. But now with the catalyst, we get a new perk, and it makes it so that whenever we get any arc kill, it's going to trigger that lightning rod effect on the bow. So it could be a grenade kill, it could be a melee arc kill, a finisher, a super kill, an arc kill from another weapon, and it will always proc lightning rod on the Trinity Ghoul, which means at all times you can just be firing that bow off. It's going to chain lightning to a ton of mobs and wipe them all out. So it gives you access to some really powerful ad clear for some minor mobs and things like that. And once I picked it up and finished the catalyst, I started having so much fun with it that I wanted to base an entire build around it, because I felt like there was a lot of potential. So when we know we can do that sort of ad clear with the lightning, we need to build all of our subclass and items around the Trinity Ghoul and how we can help take advantage of its intrinsic perks. So we're going to run Top Tree Stormcaller on the Warlock, which has access, it's really just for this perk, Arc Web, and it makes it so your grenades will chain damage to all nearby targets, and each grenade or melee chain returns grenade energy. So you have access to your grenade very frequently, and it chains damage while it's proccing lightning rod on your Trinity Ghoul. Tons of ad clear potential here, and we're going to pair that with the Crown of Tempests exotic helmet. Pretty self-explanatory, it makes sense at this point. The Crown of Tempests is a helmet that makes it so all of our arc ability kills increase the recharge rate of all of our arc abilities. So when you get a grenade kill, it'll increase your melee cooldown and all of that. So you get all of your abilities back much, much faster, including your super. So that's a lot of powerful synergy just with the bow and your subclass alone. But I wanted to take it one step further with some of the Charged with Light mods that we got access to this season, because they can do some absolutely crazy things, especially when we try and pair those with some of the new seasonal swords we've gotten. This one that I'm using in the build is the Boltcaster 2.0. If you didn't know, back in Destiny 1, there was a sword that functioned very similarly to this. It was actually an exotic sword, but we have sort of its legendary counterpart here. And this sword is super unique because when you do your heavy attack, it's actually a ranged attack. It flings out like a disc of lightning. It hits the target. It leaves a dot. It does damage over time. And it kind of has a little bit of AoE potential. It can hit multiple targets. And this thing's extremely powerful. If you guys haven't tried out swords lately since they got reworked, they're incredible. I mean, they are the PvE meta right now. You can kill bosses instantly. And Temptation's Hook has access to Vorpal Weapon, which is the only sword in the game that I know of that has access to Vorpal Weapon, which is going to increase our damage against bosses and majors. And we also stack boss spec on top of that, and we get some insane damage just from the sword alone. But we can really take it to another level when we start introducing some of those Charged with Light mods. So are you still with me? Are you following what I'm saying? Because we're about to get into sort of the more complicated portion of this build. It involves a lot of piecing together. You're going to need armor from multiple different seasons in order to pull this off perfectly. But if you can, I am telling you, I promise you, it is well worth it, because this build just annihilates bosses and majors and has ad clear for small mobs and trash mobs for days. So starting off, the first mod we want to look at is going to be a new one we got in Season of Arrivals called Lucent Blade. And this is a very unique Charged with Light mod, and it states, while charged with light, dealing damage with a sword gives you bonus sword damage for 5 seconds, and it consumes 1 stack of Charged with Light. And it's already insane, because the swords already do so much damage on their own, and this will proc at the beginning of your Boltcaster dot. So the second your Boltcaster hits the target, it's going to activate Lucent Blade, and the rest of the damage from there on out is going to be affected by this multiplier from Lucent Blade, which gives us some absolutely crazy damage when we remember that we have Vorpal Weapon and Boss Spec on our sword. It's all stacks, and it makes for some insane damage. Then you can throw Weapons of Light or a Well of Radiance on top of that, and you kill bosses almost instantaneously. It's actually nuts. We're also taking advantage of one of the artifact mods, Countercharge. And this one's really cool, and it's a little more niche. It's not exactly perfect for every situation, but you become charged with light whenever you or a member of your fire team staggers or disrupts any champion, anti-barrier, unstoppable, or overload. When anyone interrupts them, you're going to get a charge of light. So that's a nice passive way to get those charges of light. But we still need a more deliberate way of earning those charges with light. So there's a few more things we can do. And on our arms here, we're going to use another new mod from this season called Precision Charge. This one, again, is a little bit niche, and you're not always going to benefit from it. I'm a little up in the air on this one. I may switch it out eventually, but it states you become charged with light by rapidly defeating opponents with precision kills from bows, hand cannons, or scout rifles. So we're not always going for precision kills with the Trinity Ghoul, but it's there when we do. We can get a charge with light just from using the bow. And if you're trying to go for, if you're just messing around, killing some trash ads, getting the headshot, you might get a charge with light, and it will benefit you. So we have 2 ways so far of earning those charges of light, and there's one more way that synergizes it completely and puts it all together. And on our boots, I'm going to look at it right here. It is this mod, Taking Charge, and you become charged with light by picking up Orbs of Light. And I know that sounds very simple, and it actually sounds like it wouldn't work that well, but when you stop to think about how Trinity Ghoul functions, it's really synergistic, because not only when we complete the Catalyst on Trinity Ghoul do we have access to the additional functionality, but now it's a masterworked weapon. So any multi-kill with this bow is going to generate an Orb of Light, and you're pretty much always getting a multi-kill every time you fire the Trinity Ghoul. It's going to be generating orbs constantly, and you run right over, pick up that orb, and you're guaranteed a charge of light, and you can hang on to that as long as you need for when a boss or a major needs to be taken down quickly. And the final mod that we're using on our class item is Stacks on Stacks, and that makes it so every time we gain 1 charge of light, we get an additional stack. So every time you pick up an orb of light, you get 2 stacks of this, or any other way of earning a charge of light. You're always going to benefit and get 2 stacks of it. So it's really synergistic, and I'm sorry that's a whirlwind of information. As you can see, I have various armor pieces from different seasons. Pretty much if you have Season of the Worthy armor from last season, you're going to be pretty good to go, because it can use mods from both Season of Dawn and Season of Arrival. So you shouldn't have too much problem getting this set up. You just need to make sure your armor is the correct elemental affinity. You can also see I'm taking advantage of a lot of the seasonal artifact mods. I'm using double enhanced sword scavenger on my legs, using sword reserves on the chest, sword ammo finder on the helmet, everything I can to make sure that I always have sword ammo. And from my experience so far, I almost never run out. It's always there when I need it to help melt a giant mob. So I know I took sort of the long-winded approach. I said at the beginning that this was going to be an overcomplicated take on a simple concept, but when you put it all together, the rewards are amazing. I hoping you're seeing some of the gameplay in the background. I'm just doing the public event, the new public event on IO. I'm melting champions. I'm clearing ads like crazy. And it's so fun while you're doing it. I have to say that's one of the best things about the build is that it's fresh and really fun. It's cool to use swords again in PvE because they're just dominant. I mean, they destroy everything. It's absolutely amazing. So I really want to thank you guys for sticking with me while I explain this build. I hope I did a good enough job that you understand the basic concepts of this. I'm sure there's some things about it that I'm still forgetting to mention right now, and I would encourage you to play with it and try it out because there's a lot of interactions between all of these mods and the weapons that we're using that might surprise you, or you might be able to pull off some stuff that you didn't think you could. And I'm still learning a lot of it. I mean, and it's just a lot of fun. I wanted to try out all of the new stuff from the new season and pack it into one build, and this just fit the bill perfectly. I want to try out the other sword, the Dark Drinker 2.0. There's some really cool stuff you can do with that. And I'm going to continue to push this build as far as I can. I'm really enjoying it for PvE. Some of the nuances about it are the fact that even when you have those 2 stacks of Charged with Light, your Lucent Blade mod will only consume 1 stack at a time. So you'll hit your heavy attack, start the buff, and you cannot proc it again until the buff expires, which is kind of nice. You won't accidentally waste your second stack. You could hold on to it if the boss has an immune phase or something like that, or you could have 10 straight seconds of increased bonus damage. So a lot of different ways to go around it. And of course, as you can see, I'm just running the mountaintop in my kinetic slot. You could use anything you really want there. It's just to help with, you know, some of the major mobs that I maybe don't want to use my sword ammo on, but the bow isn't quite enough to take it down. And I use major spec on that. So really have something to take care of everything. I used this when I was clearing the dungeon for the first time, and I've continued to use it in the public event and all these different spaces. And it's a ton of fun. So I really hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you try out something like this. There's a lot of fun experimentation with these Charged with Light mods. I can't wait to try them out in the Crucible. I've been going pretty hard on all my pinnacles and PvE content, trying to get leveled up for the season, but now I can really start to branch out. So I'll keep you updated on any cool builds I come up with. Thank you so much for stopping by. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video and found it educational, or you learned something a little bit. If you did, please leave a like below and consider hitting that subscribe button for me. We're punching up to 1,000 subscribers, and I'm super excited to get there. We still have a ways to go, but I know we're going to get there, and your guys' support means a lot to me. So I really hope you enjoy the build. If you are trying something else that's amazing, let me know in the comments below. This season has really redeemed Destiny, I think, compared to the last season we had. There's a lot of really fun, new, exciting content to mess around with, and I'm having a blast. I hope you are too. Thank you so much for stopping by. Take care. Bye-bye.